Hey, Gopher fans, welcome to another edition of Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. I'm Mike Grimm, along with Justin Gard. We have the head coach, Ben Johnson, with us as well, and it's time to talk Golden Gopher men's basketball. The Gophers are 10-1 on the season, coming off of last week's win over Green Bay. They have a game coming up tomorrow night, taking on Alcorn State, and then hopefully a Big Ten reopener, so to speak, on Sunday with the Fighting Illini at the Barn. We'll have all kinds of things to talk about. And first of all, let's say hello to Justin Gard. JG, good to see you.
Good to see you, man. It's good to see you. We got a football game tonight. We got basketball tomorrow. Things are starting to happen again. It feels like we haven't had anything to do for a long time. So I'm excited to get some work done.
Yeah, you and I are in Phoenix getting ready for the bowl game tonight, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. We're just down the hallway from each other in our respective hotel rooms. You're able to get some alone time. You finally got the kids and the mother-in-law and the wife out of the room, and you're stuck with Mike Grimm and Ben Johnson today. How about that?
It's 75% chance they all join the show at some point today. We've got my mother-in-law has her own room, which is nice. The odds that they remember that and don't come barging in here with some type of breakfast in the next hour or so, very, very high that we're gonna be interrupted at some point. But that's 2021. That's how we do things now. So we'll make it a part of the deal.
Yeah, first world problems there for Justin Gard. Coach, good to see you.
Good to see you guys, man.
Yeah, you're now. We were just talking before we came on the air here in Phoenix. The weather's been okay. Yesterday was like 55 and cloudy, which frankly, for me personally, that's pretty good weather. I'm not a big 95 and sunshine guy, so it was good. But I know a lot of people were hoping for a little warmer. But you're telling us that back home, it's not very warm.
Yeah, it's about 14 degrees right now. So the drive in, this is when you drive in and you look outside and it's a little gray. At least like when there's sun out, you can fool everybody a little bit. But like when you get the double bang with the gray and the low temps, that's when it gets a little tough.
Yeah. Is that why recruiting Minnesota kids is doubly important, because they grow up in it? Not only do they, love Minnesota, love the Barn, love the maroon and gold, but they're not daunted by cold. Like, you can't call a kid in Miami right now and say, hey, you know what I'm doing? You can't recruit a Florida kid right now, can you?
It would be a little tough. But, I will say this. I asked Lay the other day, who had never seen snow, and he tried to act like Mr. Tough Guy. Like, he was like, man, this isn't even that cold. So like, he's a dude that doesn't wear a jacket out, I guess. So I was busting him like, dude, you got to wear a jacket. It's not even that cold, coach. I was expecting more. And I love the snow. I go out there and just, stand around in it and walk around in it. So, yeah, I don't know. There'll be no official visits on purpose between I'd say December and probably February.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And plus, you don't want to hit one of those super colds. I mean, 14 is not great, but minus 14 is even worse.
Although I do remember I have Bakari Konate on an official visit when we played Illinois, and there was a massive blizzard that almost prevented him from leaving. And it was like crazy temperatures. The guy, obviously from, Africa, was in Spain, had never even come close to seeing snow or cold weather, and ends up committing. So, I mean,
you never know how it works, right? No doubt about it. Well, hey, you're sitting at 10-1 in a really good spot, certainly, obviously, through 11 games. Just give us a state of the state address, so to speak, of the club here as you work your way through the holidays. I know the final exams and the term papers and all that stuff in the rearview mirror. How you feeling right now?
Feeling really good. Holidays were good. Guys were able to go home after a nice win and enjoy time away and time with their families. Everybody was able to make it back on the 26th. We had no travel issues, which is amazing. Guys are anxious and had a good couple of days of workouts, and we'll get ready again today to have a good practice. And I think guys are ready. I think guys now, have realized that, we have a chance to go undefeated in a non-conference. Our only loss right now is a conference game. And I think if you would have told each and every one of those guys, fellas, we can go into the new year with an undefeated non-conference record, they would have been pretty pumped about it. So to see it be a reality, I think has been pretty cool for those guys. And so we've got a ton of juice, ton of energy. I think they're excited to get back competing and get back playing, and that's a good thing.
What do you worry about when you do send them off for a break? I mean, is it conditioning? Is it what are these guys going to do? Obviously, you've got the COVID part of it too, which I'm sure we talked last week. You addressed that. I think your quote was ad nauseum. We talk about that and we worry about that. So when you get the guys back after a little bit of time off, or you don't really have them, because I know coaches love to have their guys as much as possible. What's the next day or two like, or what do you worry about?
The only thing you really worry about, well, at least right now, to me, was just them returning in the COVID because, in my mind, it's like, okay, you got the mandatory 3 days. If a couple guys get banged and it is the 10-day, well, now you're looking at 13 straight days of inactivity. And so that really was the one that scared me. It's like, okay, the reality is we're all probably going to get a pause or somebody's going to miss a game here or there. I'd rather have it be, a month in when they've got their legs back versus all of a sudden now you're looking at a possible 13, 14-day hit right off the bat. So that was the first thing is like, all right, can we just make it through and get everybody back? And then like that the first 2 weeks were good. I think our guys are committed. I think some guys probably try to find a way to get into a gym at least one of the days and just shoot. So you're not really worried about that. And honestly, I think sometimes just being able to have a couple of days where you get away from it is a good thing. And then, like I said, they came back and they had a ton of juice, and we had a good workout on the 26th and another one yesterday. So.
Tollickson talks about this a lot. Now, maybe Spencer's in his own little world, which could be the case. But he said that the toughest practice for him every year was that first one coming back from Christmas or Thanksgiving. He's got his mom's bird's nest cookies. He's got, a prime rib from Christmas. You're chowing down. You're probably not exactly getting a lot of physical activity. So a two-part question. First of all, Ben, what do you remember as a player coming back from that? Particularly, I suppose, when you're home, right? And you're a hometown kid, you go home and maybe you're hosting some buddies or whatever, and you eat a lot. But two, how you said the guys had some energy. So were you impressed with how they did come back and look?
No, I was impressed. The biggest thing everybody remembers is those practices when you come back are almost always at night. And it's kind of the random, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. practice that in basketball, we just don't have. So you got the night practice, and it is you kind of looking around to see, all right, who's the one dude that either ate too much or didn't get in the gym, and they're a little huffing and puffing, but honestly, we didn't have a guy. Like we went, and it's normally like it's not really a practice, normally a practice to get the legs going. And, you got Peyton that just literally came from the airport to the gym. And so you just try to like run it out of them. So it's normally like an hour of like cardio practice. Mm-hmm. You do a lot of 4-court stuff. You do a lot of 5-on-0, no breaks, just to kind of sweat it out of them. And again, no, our guys it's like they hadn't had time off, which is a good feeling.
No surprise to me or anybody that Spencer hated the after holiday practice, by the way, that Spencer was that guy. I mean, and he knows that, right? Like he has some self-awareness, Grimmer. He gets that. He knows that, but no surprise that Spenny didn't love coming back after the holidays. So what do you do as the head coach? Like, how do you separate? How do you get away? How did you utilize the break?
You know what, man? I got some Christmas shopping in. Which was much needed, some last minute Christmas shopping, and ended up, watching a lot of basketball and just talking to different coaches, because the big question was, okay, when these guys come back, how are you going to navigate that? And so it was on the phone talking about, all right, are you doing individual workouts? Are you doing a big group? Are you having managers and GAs in your practice? Or are you going to wait till those guys get tested and not have them involved just in case? And it was kind of more trying to game plan that first couple workouts, because again, I think we're all paranoid about getting shut down early. And so you're just trying to, keep the rhythm of practice going and just trying to make sure you've crossed, every T and dotted every I in terms of, controlling the things you can control. And so got a couple good ideas that we ended up doing. And then it was also just taking a day or two and just looking at, what we do offensively. Is there anything we can tweak and change? Maybe not necessarily for this next game, but for, the games coming up in league. Is there something that we can do that makes us a little bit different, that's not totally away from, our normal offensive flow, but just tweaks going into the league play, because, you're going to have to come with some new stuff and some wrinkles. But, a lot of it was just going back to just watching some of the holiday games and like I said, getting on the phone and trying to game plan for the time when the guys get back.
Do coaches ever really take, like, I'm imagining Coach Thorson, like you could tell him, hey, we need you to take a couple days, just clear your head. And I could see like a 5 a.m. text about something that he thinks that you should run whenever you get back. Like, do you have to tell even the coaches, hey, let's just enjoy the holidays, come back? We obviously know the staff, you like the staff, but what's that like just for them to get a break too? Because it's tough on everybody this time of year.
Yeah, it's good. And it's good for those guys because, they all have kids, especially, young kids for a couple of them. So, I don't want, I've worked for guys where it's like nonstop and it's like the 23rd, 24th, 25th, like it's just rapid text fire. And, I kind of tell those guys, if I hear from you before the 26th, you're going to be suspended. Like, leave me alone. Because I just feel like, we all, you need to get away a little bit. And I think once you get away and you kind of, in your own way about it, whatever it's internal thinking or, just totally getting away and not thinking about it at all. I want guys to be able to come back fresh. And I think a couple of days off does that.
All right, let's take our first break here on Gopher Basketball Weekly. We want to remind you about our new feature, which we're implementing this week and we'll start next week. If you have a question for Coach Johnson, you can go to gophersports.com/askthecoach. Submit your question. If yours is selected as question of the day and Guardsy Ask Coach Johnson, you'll receive a $25 gift card from the University of Minnesota bookstore. So how about that as a new feature? Go to gophersports.com/askthecoach. And I know Coach Johnson can't wait for some of the questions he's going to get from Gopher fans coming up here as the season moves on. Let's take our first break. It is Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gard with you. Real quickly, promotional value tomorrow night. It's Alcorn State, Minnesota, and Alcorn State, and it's a 7 o'clock tip. We'll take air at 6:30 here on the Gopher Radio Network. Tickets available at gophersports.com. Coach, we talked briefly about, I know last week Guardsy asked you about it, and we talked briefly in segment 1 about it, but I see the CDC has now changed some of the guidelines for vaccinated and boosted, just people in general, not just athletes. The ACC is now following suit with some of what their guidelines in terms of isolation will be. How closely as a staff are you guys monitoring that and seeing what, and maybe it's already happened. We're kind of in purgatory down here in Arizona in football mode, but what the Big Ten might do, how closely do you follow all of that, and what's your take on getting that time shrunk eventually?
Yeah, no, we definitely follow it. More for just having that general information. I think the Big Ten is going to meet, if not today, I think maybe tomorrow, to kind of discuss a couple of things, and that probably being one of them. I believe it was maybe it was the ACC that came out and said they're going to look to kind of take on that rule that the CDC just had. So that'll force other conferences, obviously, to think about it. But at the same time, it's like, there's nothing I'm going to do that's going to like push the needle. So it's like, you're still kind of in that holding pattern where it's good information to know because you can kind of plan ahead of possibilities, but at the same time, they're not calling me to get my approval on any type of call. So it's just a wait and see. And I got trust in Kevin and the rest of the the ADs and presidents. They're going to do the right thing. I know everybody wants to play and they want to make sure that we do it safely. So I'm sure whatever puts our student athletes and staff in the best position to be able to play as full strength as possible, as quick as possible, we'll be able to do.
And then along those lines as well, obviously, I know last week you talked about that you don't know what the schedule looks like, more than a game or two ahead of time. So with Alcorn State coming into town, that's one thing. But the Fighting Illini come to town to restart the Big Ten slate Sunday. They have, I guess, been put on some pause here. So what's the latest there, and what are you hearing from that situation in regard to Sunday's game?
Yeah, I think some of it just depends on, exactly this new CDC rule. And I'm assuming, I think they had a couple of positives right after they got back. So now you're looking at, all right, if they're able to shrink that window and guys don't have symptoms, we fingers crossed that we can play it. I think some of it too depends on, and we don't know this information, but what kids are vaccinated and what kids aren't, because obviously that's the huge thing. And that's where I'm so excited about our guys. Again, it was everybody's personal decision, but for each of our guys to be vaccinated, that's where the huge difference is. When you look at Memphis, I mean, that's where Penny and those guys got kind of banged, is because you have guys that aren't vaccinated. Well, those are the ones that are going to take the huge hit.
Right.
If you're not, even with this new rule, it's like there's a big difference between 5 days and 10. And especially when you get into league play, when you're playing multiple games a week, if it falls on the wrong week, you could miss 2 to 3 games. And I know we're going to try to, reschedule and all that stuff, but I still think it's hard, and when you're doing it now, you're going to look at, okay, if you miss multiple, how many times can you play 3 games in a week? So that's the challenge. And, I think the biggest thing too is like when you have guys on pause for that long, especially if they're guys that have symptoms, the conditioning factor, it's like, okay, so you get a guy back for Michigan State game on a Thursday and you're playing Saturday. Good luck. You know what I mean? Like, those guys have been sitting for however long immobile. You got to travel. You've got to get your scout in. You've got to get prep work in. You've got timing. You've got conditioning. And it's like you're just throwing these guys to the fire. That's what the paranoia comes into play with coaches and kind of how you deal with it. And it's the interesting game.
Well, I think, for the women, obviously their game with Northwestern on New Year's Eve got canceled. If I remember correctly, like Northwestern's 10th day would be that day. And so it was basically like, all right, so they all just come in on their own and line up at the barn at 1:00. Having no practice. Like, no one wants to do that. They do it the first and have a practice. So like, it's going to be wild to see how it all shakes out, because like you say, it's not just, oh, here's the game. It's everything that goes into the game, right?
It's everything. It's the scouting report. It's, getting your scout team to run their stuff. It's like, if you can't even prep for a game, that's hard enough. But now you're trying to prep, and you've had guys that maybe not have got a sweat in 10 days, or, even just the timing of, offensive rhythm, their timing of their just having legs to get their legs underneath them. And by the way, it's like you're playing a league game. It's not like a game you can kind of ease your way into versus a team who's probably been practicing, and I think the mental piece of that is so hard, because, if you lose that, you never know which way it can turn your season. Like we were put on pause a couple of times last year at Xavier, and we were a top 25 program. Well, the timing of it completely threw us off. And so we came back, you never got that rhythm. And so one loss could easily turn into 2, 3, 4. And it snowballs. And so as a coach, you're paranoid about that piece. But at the same time, it is what it is. Like, you got to find a way to navigate it, and find the best way to keep guys active and engaged and not get down and stay positive. You don't want guys thinking about, oh man, here we go again, just like last year all over. And it's like, no, this is going to be different. People are vaccinated. Hopefully it'll be a quicker turnaround. But that mental piece is real.
And then from a scheduling standpoint, just how flexible do you guys potentially? Obviously, nothing is certain. That's the whole deal with this. But I remember last year with the Gophers, even okay, this game's moved. You're going to go to Michigan here instead. And you're going to do this. I forget exactly the specifics, but to have maybe healthy teams, sitting on the sideline because on their schedule they have teams that have been hit, where maybe the healthy teams can play when they can play, and how much of that do you get a say in, and how much do you think that's going to be a factor potentially as the season goes on as well, just this flexibility?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key word is I think everybody's got to be open and be flexible, because I think there's a couple situations. So, I talked to a coach who potentially could go 3 weeks without competing, without playing a game. So you've got that problem. And now you also have, okay, as you're not playing, your players are still running the risk of being put on pause. So it's like the double whammy. When you're healthy, you want to play as much as you can and get those games in. And so to your point, it is probably going to be, if there's a stretch where you have a bye and you have a couple pauses, all right, can we move a couple games up when teams are healthy to make sure we get some games in and to keep some sort of a rhythm or flow, so you're not a team that's out 3 weeks because you're healthy, then you play a game, then bang, you're paused. So now it's like you haven't played a game in a month or over a month. Well, if you're putting teams in that situation, man, it's tough. Like, I've been there. It is tough. And so, I hope there's people on it. I'm sure there are that are just trying to figure out, a way to be creative. But it is, because you can't call it. It's schools and coaches being flexible and saying, you know what, there might be a week where we got to play a Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday game. And if that's the case and we're healthy, these dudes are used to AAU. Let's lace them up. Let's go. Or, hey, we weren't supposed to play, Penn State for 3 weeks, but we can squeeze them in now. Let's play it now. I think the only thing that makes it hard is you don't want to lose your home games. So, if all of a sudden now it's like you missed 2 home games because of pause, and they're telling you, hey, we can make up 2 games with these other teams, but, they're both going to be on the road, or one's going to be on the road. You're like, well, dang. I want to play, but you guys are killing me, because now I got to play another road game, or we're going to move a road game up. And now I've had 4 road games in a row, and you're not telling me if I'm going to be able to make up my home game. That can be a little tough.
So flexible, but not crazy. But not gymnastics flexible. Yeah, we'll be flexible, but let's chill on that.
Yeah.
Well, I think last year football was a great example. Like, my favorite story is BYU was supposed to play somebody. I think Coastal Carolina was supposed to play somebody. They both lost their opponent. BYU just kept driving and went to like on a Wednesday. They found out, hey, we're just going to go play Coastal. And those were 2 good teams. It was a great. I don't know if the coaches loved it, but game day was there. Like, they turned it into something. Like, that to me was the epitome of 2020, because I can give you the 2050 football schedule right now. That's how far they go out on that. I'm sure you guys have contracts too. And it's like, well, we're on the road. Let's just keep driving to Coastal. They can play. We'll put it on TV and we'll go. That was my favorite story of 2020.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's you gotta be a little flexible with stuff like that. And it'll come up again. Like, I'm convinced of it. And you want to be able to be flexible, but to your point, you also don't want to put yourself and your team at a disadvantage, especially when you got something to play for. It's when you got things going in the right direction, and you got something to play for. You don't want to mess something up. That's gonna derail that.
Going back to go ahead, Grimmer.
I was just saying, when there's a chance to play, you should play, right? As opposed to all of a sudden you got 3 weeks left of the season and 15 games to get in. Just as an example, and I have no idea, but let's say like this weekend, I think, the Illini are on a potential pause. I saw Ohio State has been paused for a while. Ohio State plays Nebraska, Minnesota plays Illinois. Well, it'd be a shame to have all 4 of those teams have to sit out, where maybe you'd say, all right, Minnesota and Illinois, or Minnesota and Nebraska, you figured out. You're healthy. You're supposed to play in February. Let's play in January and do something. I'm not trying to advocate for anything, but that would be a potential example.
Oh, definitely. I want to say, I could be wrong, but I thought UCLA and Washington or somebody in the Pac-12 ended up doing that. They're supposed to play at the end of January. A couple of teams got put on pause, so they moved it to like the 2nd or the 3rd. And I think it was because of that, where like, okay, let's just move the date up, And I do think that that's going to be talked about, because I think every coach wants that. No coach wants to go extended periods of time without playing. And exactly, if you're going to have to play a team, does it really matter when you play them? To me, that doesn't matter as much. So, I think the scheduling gods, hopefully, we got a little dry run last year. They'll be able to move it, because I think the other question is, now you have, other teams from other leagues that are interested in playing. So you've got that. So it's like, okay, if you can't move it in league, then are you able to pick up another bye game? Are you able to scramble and throw in like a North Texas, who I know is looking for games, if you can't figure it out in the Big Ten? So at least you're playing. Right. I don't know, because then obviously that factors in the NCAA. If you got one team that's played more games, how do you juggle that and balance that?
Yeah, it's all a puzzle, that's for sure. All right, we're due for another break. We'll come back. The stretch 4 is on the way. We want to thank Sunbelt Business Advisors. They should be on your team roster. If you're buying or selling a business, and there's never been a better time to sell than right now, get your Sunbelt no-cost confidential business valuation today. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com. That's sunbeltminnesota.com. We thank them for their support. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson, Mike Grimm, and Justin Gard with you. Glad you're with us. Tomorrow it's Minnesota and Alcorn State. That game starts at 7. We'll take air at 6:30, and you can also get tickets at gophersports.com. Want to remind you, if you have a question for Coach Johnson, you can submit that question to gophersports.com/askthecoach, and we'll ask the question of the day next week. And if you're the winner, you'll receive a $25 gift card to the University of Minnesota bookstore. So we thank the bookstore for their support of our show. It's time for the stretch 4. JG, apparently I didn't even realize it. I blew through it last week, and here we are ready to go this week. I know it's been weighing on Coach Ben Johnson's mind that he didn't get the stretch 4 in last week.
Well, and your voice is back, which I think I don't want to let that go. I mean, the gutty effort you showed last week doing the Ben Johnson show, bailing on me for the PJ Flex show, and then calling the Green Bay game the next day. I mean, your heroics did not go unnoticed there, Grimmer. So we're just lucky to have you.
Hey, and by the way, I took, and honestly, through all this, the whole thing, that was the first time I took a COVID test after all of that. And luckily I was negative. So here we are.
Thanks for telling us now. I'm glad you cleared all that up.
Yeah, we got it. We got it good.
Ben, you mentioned the Christmas shopping that you did. I'm curious if you felt pressure now as a head coach that the present game for your friends and family has to be upgraded from your days as an assistant, where now people go, all right, the head coach, like, I'm going to get something good from Ben this year. Like, we're talking head coach salary now. We're talking, living in the big office. Did you feel extra pressure to set a good standard for your first year as a head coach with the presence?
Yeah, well, 100%. You can't go to the store and get like the generic jersey. It's got to be like the authentic jersey.
Yeah,
right? And family all wants gear, but can you be the guy that really like gets the free gear? You can't. You got to go to the bookstore and get the legit real gear that's got the tag on it. You got the nephews that are probably expecting, like, they want the legit stuff, you're going to get that look like, dude, really? From my sister who's like, really? Like, so no, there's definitely that. And if there's ever a doubt, you just, every cash is king.
Yeah.
Kind of hand out, a couple dollars.
Yeah, I used to be offended by that. Now, if anybody wants to give me money, I'm fine with it. Just let me decide. I want for nothing. I need for nothing, but I'll take the money. Yeah, I'll take the cash, right? So you mentioned the nephews. So how many nephews do you have? What are their ages, and what are they into? Like that, or how has it evolved over the years?
Man, I got 3 of them. So 2 of them are older, so they're getting into basketball now. And so, one of them got a legit basketball. So he was pretty pumped about that. So now you can actually get them like, basketball gear because they're practicing. You can do the shoe deal. You can do, you could talk about a jersey name because there's that recognition. The other one's too little, so you can get him whatever, and he's good with it. Loves the wrapping paper more than anything.
Yeah.
Now it's you can actually talk players, which to me is cool. It could be even in different sports. You can broaden their horizons a little bit and force them to like something maybe that you like. Encourage them to throw the baseball a little bit, get them a glove or something like that. So that stuff is good when they get old enough where they can. They're watching it on TV on their own, and it just brings kind of a new value to it.
Yeah, that's my 7-year-old. I have an ally in the house now to watch sports, to watch all your games. Like, he's locked in. My wife doesn't care. Grimmer knows this. My wife doesn't know anything about sports and doesn't want to. Now I got an ally. Because once the kids get into it, then you're golden, right? Then it's a little buddy in the whole deal. So it works. Your best Christmas present as a kid that you got, like if I went back to Ben Johnson as a 10-year-old, what was the best one that you can remember?
Man, one that sticks out, I wish I knew the name of it. I was big into baseball, and it was this baseball game that was it had the noises, it had it had the stadium. It was built in like an actual stadium
Yeah.
And you would play the game, and the announcer had the score. Like, it was the whole audio. It was digital. It had the scoreboard. Like, you could basically hit a single, a double, a triple, or a home run. It was great. That was hours on top of hours on top of hours playing that thing.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it's called either. Grimmer, you might know. You're the ball guy here.
Yeah, I don't, but I was going to say that's like the MLB The Show before it was a video game. Then basically,
Yeah.
you had, basically Brandon Gowden voicing the highlights. And I know there's a dice game as well. Did you roll dice with it, or was it mostly just?
I think it was with playing cards, and I'm trying to remember. I'll find. It's going to bother me now. That was good. And then the electronic football with the buzzer. Did you guys ever had that?
Yeah.
Did that work though? Like, did it really work?
It didn't, but like when you're that young, like you thought it did, so it was good. But like looking back, it was probably not a great gift. But like you watched the dudes as you buzzed it, just zzz, and moved. It kept your attention.
Yeah, that's right. Was there something that you wanted that you never got?
Man, there's something I wanted, but I got a terrible version of it.
What's that?
So I wanted, like, it was in like 4th or 5th grade, like the Will Smith bright jumpsuits were like really popular.
Yep.
And so I'm like, man, that's all I wanted. I wanted the like purple, blue, head to toe Will Smith jumpsuit. So my grandma, I remember I opened up the gift and it's all the right colors. And I put the jacket on, and the jacket's got these big old shoulder pads. So she got me the women's version of what I wanted. And I just remember almost in tears going, like, I can't wear this to school. I will get talked about. Like, and I was so hurt and disappointed. But the thought was right. It was just, it was definitely a women's outfit. And I had to figure out how I could make this work.
So I'm on my cellular device here. It looks like a couple of options: perfect pitch, tabletop baseball, super stadium baseball. These are some options, Ben. I don't know if any of these ring a bell.
You know what? I'm gonna Google. It might be super stadium baseball.
Yeah,
super stadium baseball. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll get to the bottom. You're right though about the gift reaction, Ben. Like, I still hold guilt as a 7 or 8 year old from a gift that my aunt and uncle gave me that I didn't like and was not exactly tactful about expressing my displeasure for it. And then, like everything, you realize, okay, the thought was there and it wasn't actually that bad of a present. And I'm 39 years old. So we're talking, I remember I was in Arizona, probably like 10 miles from here. And it still bothers me that I reacted that way.
Yeah.
And I still tell them that. And my Aunt Sarah's like, you can let it go. Like, it was 30 years ago. Like, you were a kid. Don't worry. But it's tough when you're a kid and you like have something, you want something, and then you don't get it, or you get the bad version. Like, that hurts. Like, I'd feel bad about that forever.
No, it would always, because I know my reaction wasn't the right one. It's not like she knew. I know it was like probably head down, visually pissed. And I just remember like, how could you, kind of that look, how could you do this to me? How could you give me something with shoulder pads and not know, but because you want to be excited, you know how it is, man. You want to wear it that day, you're going to wear it that whatever you got going on the rest of the day. And when you can't, you feel like the world's over.
So no photos of this, or did you wear? I mean, that's what we need now.
No.
Now we need photos of this. They need to be at Williams Arena.
I want to say somebody in my family might have got creative and actually like cut out the shoulder pads.
That's what my mom would have done. Yeah.
So I could wear it because that was it. It was those bright colors, man. I thought you couldn't tell me I wasn't Will Smith walking into 4th grade. Had the Dwayne Wade glasses that flipped up from a different world. Oh yeah, that was me. So I needed that. I needed that outfit.
That's funny. Yeah. But if the shoulder pads were in there, like there's even that little, you're like 90% of the way, you're like, oh man, is anybody going to notice? Is anybody going to notice? So you've got the slag you're looking for, but it's almost like not there too. Like you're only one comment away from being shot down. I've been there. Cause I could never pull any of that stuff off.
Cause if you wear that to school, that's a fight. Because somebody's going to say something and that's a fight. And now you're in a whole world of trouble.
Yeah. Grimmer, that's my stretch 4. What
yeah. That was a great stretch four. I have to go to a commercial break here, and then we'll talk about Alcorn State when we come back. How's that sound? All right.
Works for me.
All right. That was an excellent stretch four. We want to thank Sunbelt Business Advisors for sponsoring our show. You can visit sunbeltminnesota.com. Stay with us. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Welcome back. It's our final segment, Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. It's presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors. Go to sunbeltminnesota.com. Mike Grimm and Justin Gard with you. The head coach is Ben Johnson. His team will be on the floor at Williams Arena tomorrow night. Alcorn State, 7 o'clock at Williams Arena. We take air at 6:30. Tickets available at gophersports.com. And, Coach, what can you tell us about Alcorn State?
You know, they've played a monster schedule. I think that's the first thing. I mean, they've been put through the gauntlet. So, you know, right off the bat, we've told our guys, you know, Williams Arena is not going to phase these guys. When you've played at Gonzaga and Baylor and Oklahoma, it's not going to phase them. So you could throw that out the window. You know, they've been battle tested. They compete. I don't care if they're down double figures late. They play really, really hard. And I think one stat that jumps out is their offensive rebounding. You know, even against teams like Oklahoma, who we scrimmaged against, who we know is a physical toughness team and fundamental team. I mean, they got double figure offensive rebounds. It's just kind of what they do. So, you know, we got to make sure they play a bunch of guys. So it's going to be, you know, a game of you got to know personnel to a certain degree, but it's really hard to know if they go 12, 13 deep, each and every guy in full detail. You just got to know kind of schemes, and you got to know style of play, and you got to know that, you know, one of their go-tos is they're going to play a little bit slower pace, but they're going to live downhill. They're going to try to drive you. They're going to try and create foul pressure, and then they're going to attack the offensive glass. And we've got to make sure we do a great job limiting second chance points. And then, you know, try to play a little bit in transition to speed the tempo up. But then we're going to have to be able to guard one-on-one. We can't guard with our hands and not with our feet and get multiple guys in foul trouble.
Going back to Green Bay, I thought it was interesting how you handled halftime. And you said, well, I'm not just going to come in here and lose my mind because guys understood. We've talked about the advantage of having an older team, that they've been through it. But how do you kind of decide that on the fly of, okay, this half isn't going like we want? You're checking guys in and out. You know, even I could see that because you didn't like some things that were going on. But as you're sitting there on the sidelines, probably with your arms crossed going, all right, what am I going to say to these guys at halftime? Like, what's going through your mind there and how you're going to handle that?
You know, to me, it all just comes down to your gut. You know, if your gut tells you, you know, you're going to lose your mind, you lose your mind. If your gut tells you it's not one of those times, it's not. And no question, like legitimately, I think I did make a decision as I'm walking into the room. Like you just kind of go with it. And my thought was, you know, I felt comfortable with a lot that we were doing. And I understood, like, you got to have a feel to, like, the way Green Bay plays. It's tough. Like, there's no life to it. You know, it's one of those games where they just kind of, you know, and because of that, the crowd couldn't really get into it because it just wasn't that type of game. And, you know, you do know Chris was like, there's just so many factors where it's like, all right, if me jumping these guys right now, really going to like get them going. And I just felt like it was more one of those, like, we just need to be more mature. Like, we knew the task at hand. It is what it is. You know how they're going to play. You got to create your own juice. That was the only thing that I was like probably down about, was I just felt like we had no energy and we had no juice and nobody brought it. And sometimes too, it's like the less you say when they expect you to do it can also be better, you know, and kind of when you put it on them and you keep it really brief and you say, here's what we got to do. And it's more of matter-of-fact conversation, which is what it was. It was just more of a man-to-man, matter-of-fact conversation, and try to put the onus on them to flip it. I think sometimes the players take ownership to that.
And we had Eric Curry on in the post game, and I thought he had a good comment. He's like, hey, yeah, we love Coach, but he didn't have to say anything. The talking was already done by the time he got to the locker room. So when you got some old guys like that, and we've talked about the veteran, that, you know, they talked amongst themselves about that half already. So that's got to be some comfort as a coach too.
No, I love it. I mean, and they knew. I mean, they knew. See, players always know, man. Like, you know when you're half-stepping. Like, I talk to these guys all the time. You can try to lie to me. You can try to lie to the staff. You can't lie to yourself. You know, you can't. And our guys are smart enough. They've been around the block. They know when they're not putting forth the effort. They know what good basketball looks like. And so again, they're able to handle that the right way. And I think that's one thing that I do like about this team is they do have a very good self-awareness. They got a maturity about them. And, they're able now to, because of the success we have, almost like player lead, which is good, and then that now it's like when I walk into the room, it's good that all that stuff's already been discussed. So now we can move on to, all right, how do we fix it? How do we change it?
Because it is human nature. We talked human nature before, but like it's going to happen where you're going to have a bad half. Yep. Like if you have, and like I think you've said this before, these guys, even though a lot of them just got here, they have equity with you. Like how they kind of get around, how they move. Yep. So it's a surprise when something like that happens almost.
Yeah, it is. And again, but it's also real. It's the human nature part. And it's different. Big Ten games, you never have to worry about, especially with an older team. All right, are these dudes going to be ready to roll? Are they going to have the juice? Like it's already the buzz and the juice. It's already there. Mm-hmm. It's the games where you're favored, or it's right before break, or it's right after break, or you've got all these different variables that a team could easily say, you know what, we can play just okay, and we're still going to have a really good chance of winning. But that's the maturity piece. It's like it's okay to think that, but your behavior can't emulate that, right? I think it's natural to think that, but like your behavior can't back that line of thinking up. And what I try to tell them, and again, it's going to take essence tomorrow, is think of all the teams that will be dying to play a game. You look at all these teams that are paused. And it's like, fellas, if you ever need motivation, like this stuff is precious and you don't know when you're going to get it back, and you don't know when you're going to be paused again. So if nothing else, let's play this game, because there would be 30 teams that will be dying to be able to play right now,
No doubt. And as this builds up, it just, you're sitting at 10-1, hopefully 11-1 after tomorrow night. You just kind of build what I would call winning habits, right? And then that's great as you restart league play here.
Yep. No, 100%. And I think that's what it's all about. Our team, we definitely talk a lot about, I don't necessarily care what the score is. I really don't. It's more about, how you play and what the game looked like and was it good basketball? Because if you're consumed with the score, I think a lot of stuff can fool you. And then that's, I think, how all of a sudden now in league play, you're like, well, why doesn't this go? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? Well, it's because it got masked. You haven't been doing that for a long time, but you were winning. You never addressed it. Versus now it's like, okay, win or lose, was that good basketball? Did we get better today? Did we take a step today? And that's what I'm solely committed to. And that's the only thing I care about is we just need to continue to get better. And we need to, like I said, win or lose, did we grow from it? Did we find something that we can tweak? Did we find something we did really well that we need to push forward? To me, that's what matters.
Well, very good. We will see you tomorrow night. We've got football tonight, basketball tomorrow. It'll be a fun couple of days, Coach. Good to see you.
Sound good. Good to see you guys.
All right, very good. For the head coach, Ben Johnson, and Justin Gard, I'm Mike Grimm. This has been Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.